Thank you. Okay, we're here, new year, same folks. But new year. Our first matter tonight, this is our January 2nd meeting, is a continued public hearing on Panetti. This is 2 Main Street, Kisco Park. This is an application for a site development plan approval, application for a preliminary subdivision approval, stormwater management and erosion and sedimentation control for construction of a new single-family residence. You last heard this on November 21.
We have to open. We have to open.
Is it brand new? I thought it was a continued.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was continued. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi, Dick. Okay, I apologize. I thought it was already open. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. It's Ralph Alfonsetti. I'm the engineer for the project. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yep, thank you.
You guys want me to share my screen and
Please.
do a quick overview?
Yep, please, thank you.
Okay. You guys can see that now?
Yep, got it.
So we have an existing lot that's just under 2 acres. It's an existing residence and a garage on the property. There's a wetland located in the rear. There's the existing septic system located in this area. And we are proposing to subdivide it into one additional building lot. The proposed residence will be in this location. Our proposed septic is in this location here where my cursor is. We've adjusted the wetland flags as per your environmental coordinator, and it comes out the wetland, as you can see in this area here, and this is the buffer. We stayed that as a buffer the best we could. I believe there was a comment or two that this wall is a little bit close, so we'll look into moving that wall and driveway over so we're further away from the buffer. It's served by municipal water. That's a quick overview, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, very good. Let's take the comments. And Sabrina, do you have any comments that we need to raise at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I have no further comments. The applicant has addressed all the planning, the conformance table, the coverage issues, that I have commented in my memo. So it is really, from a planning standpoint, good to go for preliminary subdivision.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sabrina. Bob, you have some comments?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'll go over them as quickly as I can. I broke them up with stormwater comments, general comments, and subdivision comments. My concerns, biggest concerns are I still do not know whether it meets a 3-foot separation based on the deeps and the perks between the bottom of the dry well, that's ST1. ST2, I highly recommend you have to use the slowest rate route, not the quickest rate, so you gotta stick to the 6 inches per hour that we did on the original design. ST2, ST3 through 7 are technical items regarding sizing, routing, and volumes, which I gave supporting information to Ralph on. He's got to provide some information. We need to clarify those. Also, to the limits of the infiltration areas have to be shown to be the 50-foot separation between the county, that's ST8, not just the dry wells themselves. I'm just concerned about this whole thing fitting within the confines of the separation distance between the septic, between the house, and not going in the buffer. So be cognizant of that. Those are my stormwater comments. I go to the general comments. You got to adjust sidelines based on the down gradients coming on down. north to south on Main Street, brings it up to like 164. Other one goes up, reduced accordingly, that's GC one. Of course, you're gonna have several retaining walls here, they're about 75 foot in length. As Ralph mentioned before, there seem to be unrealistic to be right on the wetlands buffer. I recommend moving it at least 5 to 7 for excavation, construction, and footing. That's GC 2 and 3. GC 5, basically your notes. GC 6 and 7 are just technical items to tweak the driveway profile and right away. The driveway center line's gonna be increased a bit based on chapter 113, 25, 30, so you move that north and away from the wetlands buffer, that's GC 8. GC 9, you don't need a water meter pit, it's not 200 feet away from the residence. GC 10 is a street opening permit. GC 11 is that's my little parking in the back, provide wastewater treatment system. And then I got the subdivision comments, which is basically, the map, the wetlands flagging, I think should be updated, and the dates that it should be flagged, should be changed as SM1. And they should also put on the zoning conformance table, which was on the one I reviewed. And also too, the water service should be shown for the lot to the south. And the 2 lots should be called lots A and B, so it doesn't get confused with the SBLs. And also too, I need confirmation from Joshua Herman whether these new tax lots were provided by him. I don't know if they were, I can't tell. And those are pretty much my comments for now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Now, I think we spoke before that a lot of these you would be comfortable with conditioning, but there are a couple in here that you and Dennis, I know we'll come to Dennis, we have a couple of comments that we really think we need to get under control and fully understand before we move it forward. So Dennis, I'll take your comments as well now.
Yeah, so as far as the wetland delineation, as submitted by Mr. Alfonsetti, that plan sheet does accurately depict the wetlands. But I think the survey that was prepared by Stephen Johnson would need to be updated to reflect these additional flags also, just so that the two match. So that was just my comment with respect to sort of how the wetlands are, now represent that line that I know you're gonna try to avoid as best as possible going forward. With any development, this is something I didn't get an opportunity to speak to you earlier on today. I was gonna call, but I'm not speaking for the planning board, but there have been instances when applications have been before the environmental review board, and there has been acceptable subsurface stormwater installations within reason, within the wetlands buffer, because obviously certain properties are constrained. Certainly not in wetlands, we don't allow any stormwater, so I just wanted to bring that up for the, back of your mind if, moving forward, and certainly if you need to meet county Department of Health requirements with the septic, if that needs to be an alternative considered, it's something that, I would, at least at a minimum, if you wanna present it for discussion, as opposed to, not present it, that's something I think that would be a consideration. I'm not gonna say it's approved or not at this time, so I just wanted to make that and the wetlands on that note. As far as the tree removals, so when I went to just go investigate the site, I mean, some of those X's and those trees relative to where they're located, compared to some of the features that already exist on the site, like the barn, I have an idea as to, I think, the tree that you're talking about, but in the totality, since they weren't marked, I didn't wanna do anything more, like sort of like a hunt and peck, so if there's a way you could at least demarcate the trees in the field, if you can match them up to the numbers of the table that you created, that's fine. If you need to create a new table because it's easier just to start from scratch, that's also fine because, I'm not sure, some of the species listed may or may not be. So if we do it by numbers, I at least know that, we sort of have a point of reference, and as I've done for others, I'm happy to assist in terms of, speciating, doing the measurements and, assessing condition as to what, replacement requirements would be. And that just leads into my final comment that, obviously considering this level of removal, you're gonna have to comply with 120.16 and come up with a replacement plan, which obviously would include replanting and or contribution to the tree bank fund. That basically are my comments to this submission.
And Dennis, I had another comment on the trees, and that we talked about that earlier today. The schedule that was put together by the applicant does not provide us with a condition report of the trees.
Right.
So once you know which trees they are, we also need to know the condition, because there are a couple in here that are pretty substantial trees.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure why they have to be cut down. I mean, I think there was a 24-inch oak in here, again, if these are in very poor condition or if they're dead, that's a whole different situation. But if they're in good condition or robust condition, we need to really look at this, and one of the things that we always look at is the condition of the trees and assessing whether or not, the permit will be granted in the way it was requested by the applicant.
Absolutely, yes.
Fewer trees removed, the better. And,
Pardon, Dick?
fewer trees that are removed, the better usually.
Yep.
And another thing is, a lot of these trees that, in the, over by let's see, the left side, are right next to stone walls. And the stone walls are not recent, I'm sure. They were probably for decades and decades. So I don't know that all the rocks have to be removed. So I'm confused. If you remove the rocks, you may damage trees, type of thing. So
And vice
maybe
versa,
that
it's a good
went
point.
out and they were environmentally okay, with the way we do things, and you might save some dollars, and you would maybe have not to go and get some extra trees if the ones that are up against the rocks and the walls and everything are not in the way. Now, where you wanna put the systems for the sewage, anything that's in there has to come out, whether it's heavy rocks or concrete, in my opinion.
Yeah, we certainly understand where, the house is going, trees have to be removed, the driveway's going, okay, we get it in the SSDS, but it seems to me that there are a couple in the front that are maybe the result of preferred grading perhaps, I'm not quite sure what. So again, condition report and then getting a better understanding with Dennis's visit to the field as well, what's going on here, what's being proposed.
Okay.
Any comments, questions from board members?
No.
For me, just subject to the technical comments from Bob and Dennis, I'm good with this.
Yep.
Conceptually, it's fine.
Yeah, this will have to go through a final subdivision application as well. So what we're looking at right now is preliminary. I would say, Ralph, that once we have these things set, we should be able to move forward very quickly with preliminary, and then the final should be really administrative at that point.
Okay, yeah, I think I'll address the Bob's comments and maybe have a meeting with him, go over with it, and then I'll do the same with Dennis. And we'll.
I think that would make great sense. So I think we had looked at this with an eye toward continuing the public hearing on what date was it, Felicia?
Did we say the next one for the 16th
I
or
think it was the,
February 6th?
I think it was
It's the
the
first
February
February.
6th one, I thought. Wasn't it, Sabrina? Do you recall? I don't know what the cutoff is.
I'm sorry, I'm having issues with my volume button, repeat that.
We had looked at this for a continued public hearing in was it the first or second meeting in February?
It was the second meeting in February.
Okay, I thought so, okay. And again, what we could do also is anticipating that we have this information, have staff draw a resolution, so we're in pretty good shape and hopefully close the public hearing and move it forward at that point, if that sounds agreeable. And again, I think we should make great headway if you have those meetings with Bob and Dennis.
Yeah, we'll do.
Good.
Okay, so that second meeting is February 20th with a submission deadline of January 29th.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Any other questions, comments?
Motion.
So we have a motion then to reschedule or continue the public hearing for February 20th?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Ralph.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Our next matter is the public hearing for Piccolino, 15 Little Pine Road, application for a site development plan approval for relocation of the clearing and grading limit line to construct an in-ground swimming pool. Do we have a motion to open this public hearing?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 You're up again.
I'm up again, and I just shared my screen,
Yep.
you should be seeing it soon. So as I said, this is a, public hearing to, looking to move the previously approved clearing grading limit line. For some reason, it was put right through the, existing, I'm gonna call it a terrace, it's a lawn area, but, you know, clearly it's been disturbed with this retaining wall, and it's supposed to be level now lawn, and the applicant then would like to set up a swimming pool in this location, as shown on this plan here. And we would like to relocate the clearing grading limit line to around the, around the stone wall.
Okay. I think we have comments only really from Bob on this.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Basically, my comments, they are removing the terrace, which was originally tripping the numbers over the 1,000 square foot mark. So they're gonna remove approximately 2,350. And now they're around 942 square feet with the pool and the equipment pad, so therefore a SWIP is not required based on chapter 108. General comments, they're gonna increase the clearing grading by 4,600 square feet. If the planning board is inclined to approve it, I would recommend that they get a declaration of an amended clearing and grading limit line and a map as well, to be filed with, be reviewed by town council and then be filed with the Westchester County Clerk's Office. I just have comments on what to call the lines, but I try to be very consistent on the previously approved clearing grading limit lines and the amended clearing grading limit lines. So they're very easily ascertained and found out what they are in the future and in the years to come. And I do have general notes on the plan that should be there too. Also to always recommend that the improvements be located by a surveyor prior to the CO being issued, and new coverage calculations be submitted as well, so we have good numbers on what was built with the plans, so when new people come in, we know exactly where they stand with the development coverage and the building coverage. And I have no objection to all of these being placed in the planning board as conditions of approval as well. And those are my comments for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good, Bob. Bob, would you, again, consistent with what we've done in other applications, would we want to have clearing and grading markers placed in the field on this application?
I wouldn't, generally we don't do that. I mean, what we would do if any construction came in the future, we would generally have the clearing and grading limit line staked out for erosion control purposes. But other than that, that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, it kind of already is. If you go look at that wall, being at that site, if you're standing, I wouldn't jump off that wall down to the bottom there.
So it's a clearing, grading, and jumping wall.
It's an orthopedic nightmare, exactly. So I think it's already been marked, and like I said, from prior investigation, that wall looked like it was in a 1947 area, which is the earliest records we have, so
Terrific.
it serves its purpose, I guess.
Okay, good. Sounds good then.
That's a new standard, by the way. If Dennis is willing to jump off of it or not.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Which reduces
Ten squares below, right?
Okay, very good. Comments, questions from board members?
4 feet, no?
No, we should advance this, this looks
Yep.
good.
I agree. Sabrina, there are no zoning issues or planning issues? I don't think there have
No,
been.
there are none, the applicant has provided all the information necessary and they're completely zoning compliant.
Super, okay, thank you. Okay, we can close the public hearing if we wish, we can entertain that motion, then we can also instruct staff to put together a resolution for next time around. Sound reasonable?
Let's.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And motion to direct staff to draw up a resolution for this application for our next meeting, which is January 16th?
Yes,
Is that enough time?
yes.
Okay, super. Is there such a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second. We didn't just
No, this is for the resolution.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, okay. All right, so we move now to our next item. This is a request for an extension of approval. This is at 767 King Street, LLC, Chiselhurst subdivision lot number 6. Request for an extension of approval, site development plan, 767 King Street, New York Route 120. So I believe the applicant's attorney's here?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So for the record, I'm Steve Rabel, the law firm of Cullen, Berger and Stout. And as you stated, we are here for an extension of the steep slope permit, wetland permit, and tree removal permit for the single-family house approved for 767 King Street. As I noted in my letter, the property has changed hands as of late 2022. The new owner is reviewing the approved drawings, and they're in discussions with their own team on whether or not they want to modify the approval. So we're asking for an extension of the slopes, wetlands, and tree removal permits.
Okay, very good. John, did you have some thoughts on this that you wanted to, or just bring the board up to speed on? We have two board members who weren't here when this approval was approved. This application was approved. Dick was here and, anyway.
Council and I spoke briefly this morning and we were talking about the delicate nature of the prior approvals and that is what's being extended. And to the extent that the new owner's application differs from those approvals, we have to be we're indicated that he has to be very careful in upsetting sort of the delicate balance that was reached by this board in a difficult site.
Right.
So the owner understands that, his applicant understands that, and they're gonna proceed with that knowledge.
Okay, sounds good. The background on it was a unique site, a very difficult site, beautiful site. And the building that was initially designed was really designed specifically for the site, had rain gardens for the roof, et cetera. And those are the kinds of things that enable us to work with the site and to approve it. So the concern would be, not that there's any concern, we don't have a plan. The concern would be that if there are any kind of material changes in some of these design elements, even design elements of the structure itself, it could really cause issues for us. So,
But approval of the extension makes no
reference.
no guarantees to any further approval if were there to be proposed changes.
Correct. Yep. So is there a motion to grant the extension requested by the applicant?
What's the time that's being requested?
A year.
Do you recall?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Motion.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
okay,
Thank you very much, happy New Year.
yep, thank you, same to you. So we come now to the minutes of December 19, 2023. Does anyone have any We did get the one change that came in today with the discussion on the Graves application because we had, I think, agreed that we would see markers in the field for the clearing grading limit lines that were being changed with the buffer that was being eliminated. So with that one change, I think we're pretty much set. Does anyone have any substantive issues or questions, changes?
Nope.
If not, is there a motion to adopt the amended minutes that we received this evening?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. And the last item that we had was I sent a memo out to planning board members and to town board members and staff. And I delighted in the fact that I dated it 12/31/23, which is 123/123. Things are really desperate in my house when this is a source of entertainment. But in any event, there are a couple items on there and that I thought were appropriate for us to really focus on, not by ourselves, but with staff, with the town board. I did receive, we did receive, I think, responses from the supervisor and deputy supervisor that were favorable on each of these topics, I think. And so I think there was this willingness to set up joint meetings and get us going on these things. I don't know what is more critical than the other, but it's something I think that we can tackle at the same time. I don't think any of these things are stupendously complicated. So I don't know if anyone had any comments or questions. My hope is that we could work, very closely with town board, very closely with staff. This is not the planning board's thing. It's just something that the town should be doing, I think, in a coordinated fashion.
So a few comments.
Sure.
One, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I appreciate you raising those issues, certainly issues either that we directly discussed previously or tangentially discussed previously, and worthy of discussion of both the planning board and the town board. And I think there's wood to chop on those issues, and I'm eager to have those conversations. I don't know to what extent we need to get into the details of them tonight, but I just the only concern that I had was with the third topic, if I remember correctly, which is the enforcement question, and I think that's complicated.
Yes.
I understand the goal and I agree with the goal about when properties change hands and burdening future owners and neighbors with compliance and non-compliance issues. However, I worry about over-solving a problem and burdening others and burdening an industry that relies on a lot of immigrant labor and I would wanna be careful about issues associated with that. And so that one to me requires they all requires delicate solutions, but that one especially. And so I would wanna be careful about that especially. That was my only thought about concern about kind of moving forward on those issues. The others for sure need to be addressed. I did see the response from the Newtown supervisor and the deputy supervisor, and I was happy to see not surprised, but happy to see a willingness and eagerness to tackle those issues.
Good. And I don't even know, John, if what I was proposing is really something even that the town can do in terms of licensing of those kinds of contractors. My concept would be a very modest bond, $1,000 bond, which would cost nothing.
There's two things. One is, Westchester County is very good about licensing home improvement contractors. There's all sorts of rules and regulations involving that, whether people go outside of that, at their own risk. There's also a number of municipalities now require an inspection to be done before a C of O can be transferred to a new owner. So that puts the onus on the existing owner to legalize any condition so that you can't be an innocent, some guy who buys a house, 3 down and says, look, I didn't change the grading of the yard, it was, what do I know from, I can't put something there. So, but you can have registrations of, you know, it can't be too burdensome, it
Right,
can't be
of
too
course.
local, but it for safety and for licensure, it can be done.
Okay, interesting then. I wasn't sure of it, and I've just been so frustrated seeing some of these applicants before us. And we've had, you know, a bunch of them this past summer where, you know, and prior owners who should have and did know better, but still went ahead and made the changes. And these poor people are, you know, they buy a house and all of a sudden they wanna make a little tiny change, they make an application, they find out that they got tens of thousands of dollars of compliance and delays and professional fees. And you know, I think a lot of it is, you know, these regulations were passed maybe 15, 20 years ago. There was a lot of to-do, a lot of discussion. I think it's an education thing where it's just fallen by the wayside, people are unaware of it. Sabrina raised a very good point earlier today when we had a discussion, that is, you know, we've seen a rash of people coming up from the city, you know, leaving the city, buying these things, homes on a cash basis, perhaps not doing their due diligence the way that they might otherwise have been doing their due diligence, and unfortunately falling into some of these situations. But it just doesn't seem right, and the other issue is you know, I think it's a big issue frankly throughout town, is the Sunday morning contractors who come in, they know that there's no enforcement mechanisms out there, and all of a sudden you hear the chainsaws out there and the bulldozers, and you know, it's suddenly something has happened. And if the laws are worth our while and worth our review as we go through new applications, and the same for the ERB and zoning board, the same people are faced with the same sort of situation. If they're worth having, then they're worth enforcing, and you know, not draconianly, and I'm not suggesting that we hire, you know, the police to go around and do this, but if we can figure out some way that it's somewhat self-enforcing, you know, where the homeowner's aware, you just can't hire, you know, someone to do your regrading your property on a Sunday afternoon. You know, you have a problem. You know, I have this particular problem, and I think some of the people with DPW have another problem also with the guys who do the snow plowing and leave the snow in the street always. I mean, you know, it's just drives me up the wall, but that's my own quirk. I'll go back to my 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and try to calm myself. Anyway, I don't think there's any need really to get into any of this. It's just laying it out there as hopefully for some future discussion with the town board and staff. And hopefully we can, you know, bite into some of these things.
I have 2 comments.
Yes, sure, Dick.
First, I'm happy to see that there's gonna be some sort of parking evaluation for Greeley, and I think that should help other things happen. But on the other side, it had been confirmed that the property just north of 50 North Greeley is contaminated with several toxic chemicals in the groundwater and probably in the soil in some places. And I think that someone's gonna have to not just ignore this, but do an evaluation. And I think the evaluation should be, I get the New York State EPA unit, whatever its initials are these days, and have them take a look at it and you know, given what we're trying to do, I think they should have a hand in it to make sure that the contamination is under control or not.
Dick, confirmed by who? Where did that, is that new information?
Well, there's the Ferguson, she got someone to do the evaluation of the property next, find the data and everything else, and there's several benzenes and fluorinated compounds in the groundwater.
So it's quite a bit north of 50 North Greeley. I think it's upslope and in north. I don't know how many blocks or I don't know how many lots.
Right.
But apparently, you know, there's some history.
Right, but who is Ferguson? Who did that testing and
There were outside folks.
But on behalf of
you know, North Greeley, It was for, I believe it's the property just to the north.
So they did some testing of the groundwater on their own site?
Yeah.
In service of what? I mean, why did they do that?
Well, I think that, wasn't there some public record of some contamination of some sort on this lot, which is a little bit attenuated from 50 North Greeley. I don't think we should focus on that. It's somewhere up in the north, and then of course the other issue was across the tracks, there was obviously considerable contamination
Yeah.
for the conifer
Yeah.
project.
I'm just curious, are we anticipating an application from that site? I mean, what, how was it?
Not at this time, not for that site, not at this time, and my understanding that the DEC has already issued spill numbers and different things for that property. We haven't done a hard look into that property. But my understanding, it was raised during the discussion of 50 North Greeley, and there is a DEC number associated with it, so that means they have eyes on it.
Did they close the spill number?
I do not know. We didn't.
No, I don't believe so.
So it's obviously it's another complication, because we need those all the time, and another complication for the North Greeley area that needs to be considered.
How far is it from,
Pardon?
how far is it from?
I don't recall, but I know it's up the hill, and I think it was, I don't know what the distance is. I wouldn't wanna speculate, but it was probably several hundred feet, if not 1,000, I don't know. I don't know how far out it went. But to Sabrina's point, there's documentation.
People looking at
There's
it.
documentation. Yeah. Okay, good. Anything else?
I'm not sure what Dick said about parking. What was his point there? What was that? It's okay.
I think, Dick, you mentioned that you were glad to see that there would be some sort of discussion on parking in
Yeah, he's
this
happy
North
about it.
Greeley. Yeah,
Okay.
that was it, I think. Okay, great. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to close the hearing, close the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Close the door.
Close the door. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we did it.